This presentation is on Microsoft Teams and how it can be used in a classroom setting. There are various options when trying to choose a video casting system such as Zoom or Skype, so why might you choose Microsoft Teams to use in your classroom? Some of the highlights of Microsoft Teams are it allows for virtual meetings just like the other programs. It allows for individual teams or groups to be set up for quick access to information and meetings for those groups. It allows for shared chat, screen sharing, whiteboard, and calendaring options. It allows for meetings to be recorded for later viewing, which is a key point to this, and we'll come back to that in a little while. It allows closed captioning in some situations. It allows for unlimited time as opposed to some of the other programs, which free versions cap you at 40 minutes. And it also allows for free use to those with Office 360, which all of JSU has. Some drawbacks to Teams and why you might choose others over this. It limits the number of participants viewable at one time. While the number of participants allowed in the meeting are much more, close to around 90 or so, you can only see around 9 or 10 people at a time. And it also does not currently allow for breakout groups. However, this is something that they are working on remedying and implementing very, very soon. So how might this be used in a classroom setting? First of all, it allows for calendar for scheduling individual and class meetings. There's a screen sharing option, chat feature, and video recording. So let's take a look at these 4 items. So with calendaring option here, you can see an example of a week for me. So for this semester especially, I found it very important to hold simultaneous Teams meetings for classes along with face-to-face classes for students who may be in quarantine or could not attend otherwise, so they could still attend and participate in class. So you can see here are my large class meetings. And I've also found that especially with my freshman students, but all students overall, it is important to hold individual meetings at times to review essays or to discuss assignments and make sure there are no questions or concerns. So you can see here this week that I had multiple individual meetings with students set up to meet with them. So now that you kind of see an example, how do you actually let's look at how to actually make and access appointments. So there are several options you can do: meet now or add new meeting. However, to me, the easiest way is to simply go to that date, so today, and the time you want, and double click on that. And you can add here, Teams presentation meeting. You add your title, add any required attendees for this meeting. I'm going to include myself. You can do the time, and you can do this for however long you particularly want. So let's say I wanted to do it till 2 p.m. That's 4 hours. That's a really long meeting, but you may need it. If you're wanting to add an individual group or team, you can do that here with Add Channel, and you can also add in meeting notes here. So this is for presentation for EIM 504, and then I hit send, and that automatically sends an email to all participants. Now, the easiest way to me to tell students how to join a meeting is to go to their calendar option in Teams, which is on the left-hand menu, go to that particular meeting and hit join. That's just the easiest way to me. It allows you all of the options, and it helps students to have the same way to access it. Now, on this screen, it gives you the option to have video, sound, all of the things that all the meetings do, and just do join now. And I like to make my screen full screen. Now, usually here you would see squares with other individuals. However, since this meeting just includes me, you only get to see me. So to walk through a few of the quick perks of or elements of a Teams meeting, you have show participants, which lists all the participants in that meeting. It's a quick way to screenshot, do attendance, that type of thing. We're going to come back to the chat here in 1 second. Raise your hand. That allows the teacher to see if someone has raised their hand. It can lessen confusion, yet allow the teacher to know that they may have an answer or a question. You have the turn camera on or off option, mute option, screen sharing, all of those. And you also have the more options here that we're going to look at quickly. You have device settings, meeting options, notes. The gallery allows you to determine how many people you see at a time. Full screen. The background effects allows you to have a virtual background. Let's say you're in a messy office, you can do that. The turn on live captions, this is not in existence for every single program, but I think they are working on that. But it's actually a really good captioning option for your students who may need accessibilities. And then the start recording. We're going to talk more about recordings in a minute, but I want you to see how that looks. So I'm going to start the recording. And you can see here it says you are recording, and everybody in the meeting gets this notification for privacy purposes. Now let's go back, now that we've looked at the calendar, how to make an appointment, how to access an appointment, and some of the highlights of a meeting. Let's look at this chat option here for just a second. So to access the chat, you click on the little text box. And you can see here it says recording has started. That is going to be a way that students can access the recording at the end. The nice thing about the chat is you can type in messages. You can also add in artwork. You can attach documents or files. There are emojis, GIFs, all of these things. I often use this option to add PowerPoint files or links that are important within my presentation so that students always have access to those. This is also a very good way for students to be able to participate within class discussions, especially if it's virtual. So one thing that I do, I'm going to go ahead and pause on the chat for 1 second and go to screen sharing so that you can understand how the chat and the screen sharing can work together. In a whole classroom setting, like I said before, I like to have a Teams meeting running while having in-person class. So if I am presenting on, let's say, multimodal presentation, I have this on my screen so that my people in class can see the presentation, but also the people on Teams can see it as well. And as I click through and as I ask questions, people on Teams can actually type into the chat and add in. So if I ask a question to the whole class, instead of everyone on Teams talking over each other, I often have them type into the chat box and we can read it and discuss that along with what is said in class. It's a way for them to participate and be active and engaged within the class setting. So the screen sharing is really nice for that option. You can see I can walk through my PowerPoint with them. I can talk to them about it. And when I'm done, I just say stop presenting. The other nice part of the screen sharing is if I'm meeting with a student one-on-one to discuss maybe an essay or a project, he or she can share their screen with me and I can actually walk through it with them. I can take control so that I can mark on things. Students are able to ask specific questions with allowing me to see it while maintaining that social distancing that's so important right now, and it allows still for individual conferences to happen when it is not possible in person. So that workshopping writing is very key. It's very important. And then the final option is that video that I discussed here a while ago. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the video so that you can see what it does. And you can see it says over here, recording has started. Now the recording option is key because students can use this to create their own presentations and videos if they need them for class. It's also a way for students who maybe could not attend class or need to review can go back and watch the video, so you're not having to constantly say, oh, what did I miss in class? Well, you can go back and review the video. It's also really helpful for students in one-on-one tutoring situations so that they can go back and review that video as well. So if I leave this particular meeting and I go, let's say, to the meeting I had this morning, if I double click on it, it opens up all the information. And especially here with the chat, and this is very important because students and you as a teacher now have access to the entire chat along with any video recordings that were made. And you have access to this as long as you have access to Teams. So Microsoft Teams, the key points that I have found that have been beneficial to my classes are the calendar, the screen sharing, the chat, and the video recording. These all help with student engagement, student participation, especially within this time when we don't necessarily have all the options of having students face-to-face at all times. I hope you find this tool to be beneficial to you and your classroom.